Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show, which is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool. To find the right size for your digging project, visit powerplanter.com. Now here are your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. You can come back to your radio. We're back from the break. Well, I know you didn't go anywhere because you appreciate the companies that support our program, and the companies have let us know that they are seeing you buy the products that they sponsor our program with, and without them, we do not have a program. So we thank them, and we thank you for being part of the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. Well, Holly, let's get into the topic here that many people struggle with, and that is slugs in the garden. We've had this problem too.
Yeah, slugs are sneaky, and they will eat.
Some people think they're cute.
I guess.
If you're not a gardener, I guess they're cute.
Yeah, before they eat your whatever, they
Right.
definitely will often eat hostas too, and a lot of people don't care for that. So one thing is you can bring in wildlife. Many animals will naturally eat slugs, and snails in the garden. So you could do like a small pond, a bird bath, bird feeders. The birds will be bathing or eating or whatever. They'll see this, and then they'll see the slugs because they have this natural keen ability to look for the meaty bugs, and then they'll take care of the slugs for you. But if that doesn't work...
Well, and side note, they eat the other bad bugs too.
Yeah. They eat the
tomato
other
hornworms and everything. And people I don't want birds in the garden. They're gonna be bad for the garden. And they're one of the best, besides worms, I think birds come in a close second.
They're very helpful, happy garden helpers.
Yeah, we put a bird feeder in the center of our garden, and the activity is just 100-fold of the birds that's coming in. Even though we don't have anything of stature growing in the garden, we've planted a lot, but we bring those birds in now to create a feeding habitat or a feeding channel or avenue, so they know where the food's at. So when the plants get larger and bugs get on them, they will continue to come in the garden in the center, and then as they fly out, they'll see these insects that they can consume.
Right, for sure. Another thing is you can make a place for them to live. So what you can do is you can lay a board on the ground, like a large piece of plywood, so they have a place to go during the hot part of the day. And then in the evening, you can lift that board up. You'll find many areas of slugs, and then you can just get rid of them. So you can relocate them. If you have chickens, you can give them to the chickens. You can just stomp on them, whatever works for that.
People may think, well, why are we doing that? It's very unique how they'll go feed, and then they'll find a place to stay healthy.
They like that cool
protection,
yeah. So
and then you flip that board over, and there's all those slugs that you can dispose of on your own choice. And it really does work very, very well. And you can do this in multiple places throughout the garden. Putting boards, they don't have to be, just planks, plywood, whatever the case is. You can lay them up against your raised beds, and they will hibernate or go there. And then it's an easy way. If you got chickens, they will go nuts for those particular slugs in the garden.
So you can also pour salt on them or around, but it could possibly mess with your soil. So if you do have a slug problem, what you could do is you could pour the salt around the soil, like around the plants, not close to the plants, but around the perimeter of your garden. And that could take care of the slugs. But then you have to keep in mind that once it rains, it's going to wash into your soil, absorb into your soil, or if you water. So if you see the slugs, you could just sprinkle some salt on them. But if you see the slugs, you might as well just pull them off your plants. So that is an option. Slugs do not do well with salt. What it does is it draws the water.
Now, the next one may upset some people when it comes to slug control methods, and that is utilizing beer to attract and to kill the slugs.
Well, that's not any different than using salt on the slugs.
Well, some people don't drink salt as a recreation on the week.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Not my beer. Right?
Not the good,
So what you can do is there are traps you can buy that have a roof on them so that when it rains, the beer doesn't have to be replaced. But what you do is you take a shallow container.
For the rest of us, how do we do it if we don't want to
Right.
get this fancy slug?
You can just take like, I don't know, like a sour cream container, whatever
Right.
you got, and you just bury it at soil level, and then you pour your beer in there, and then what happens is the slugs are attracted to that, and then they fall into the container, and then they get distracted by the beer and probably drown, but maybe hopefully they drown drunk. But yeah, so we want to plant that away from your plants. So if you
Plant it or bury it. Yeah.
or I'm sorry, bury it away from your plants. So if you have a certain area that you could, so that they're not like going.
You're drawing them away
You're drawing
from
them
the
away.
problem.
Like
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to put in the middle of your garden, because if they're on one side of your garden, then
They move quick.
They move quick, and then, oh, I'm going to walk through the garden. Okay, now I see all these plants, whatever. If you put it away from that area, then they're going to go that direction.
It's the same thing with the Japanese beetles. If you use that pheromone trap, you don't put it in your yard. You try to put it 4 yards away, because then everything will go to that yard. If you put it in the center, everybody's going to come to that particular place, and then the whole deal. But okay, what kind of beer is best? Is it just any beer, or what is the best here?
So for us, we noticed that the slugs like the hoppier beer, like the IPAs.
The higher IPAs, is it higher?
The IPAs have more hops.
Okay.
More of a hop flavor. So I don't like IPAs, and I had bought a beer accidentally that was it was an IPA, and we noticed that the slugs really seem to like it.
And you do have to replace it if you don't have the fancy slug mortuary where they are going to go.
You could probably get creative with that.
Oh, yeah.
And take like the lid for something else and put it on there and put some holes and.
But you would want to elevate it enough to where they can actually go in and not
That's
struggle.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You could use like maybe straws or
Right.
toothpicks. And
But it works very well. It
Yeah.
really
Oh,
does
yeah.
work well. Also, you can go commercially and get slug pellets. However, the slug pellets are not necessarily organic, and when you put them on your yard or your garden, other animals can eat them and be toxified, and actually it can hurt and even kill some of them. So that is not always the best method. But over the last few years, wood pellets have been introduced as a slug pelletized type of material, and it's found to be quite effective. It's been discovered that the slugs are just as bothered by the itchiness of that rough wool as some of us people are whenever we put on a wool sweater. So,
well, it tears up their underside, I think, too. Maybe a little bit. Maybe they're more sensitive to that.
and people say, well, what about just putting eggshells and sand around the plants? Those have okay results.
Mm-hmm. I would say out of all these, the most effective is probably going to be the beer.
Right. And second would be putting the board so they have somewhere to go, and then you can attract them that way.
And the birds, too.
People always say, well, just put copper tape around the raised bed or the container. The only disadvantage to that is most times to have it effective, you've got to have that a slight charge incorporated in that, which would be like you hook up a 9-volt battery when wires, and you run that copper wire or tape around the container, so when they get close, they get zapped. That's a whole mess of stuff that is it's a lot of fuss for when there's other methods that are just as effective, if not more.
Right, for sure.
Well, now that the weather is starting to warm up, Holly, you will want to protect your garden from the various beetles, weevils, borers, and...
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.